Funny how people unsubscribe from your life without notice. One day they swear forever, the next they're gone. But hey, if you're here, hit subscribe. It's free, unlike loyalty. I found out my daughter wasn't mine. My wife had been having an affair with my brother for 8 years. They stole $200,000 and planned to run away together. Even as I write this, I can't believe it's real. It all started like any other month. My closest friends, Howard, Jeremy, Kyle, David, John, and I, had known each other since childhood. Now, in our late 30s and early 40s, we made it a point to meet once a month at my beach house. It wasn't fancy, just a cozy 2-story place, a bit weathered, but it smelled like the ocean, which I loved. An old surfboard hung in the living room, a relic of our younger years when surfing was our shared obsession. Each of us had our quirks. Howard, ever the perfectionist, would straighten picture frames if they were even slightly off. Jeremy, the joker, had a sharp tongue. His humor could be cutting, but he meant well. Kyle, the quiet one, was an architect with a complicated past he never spoke about. David, ex-military, carried an air of mystery, built like a brick wall but silent about his time in service. And then there was John, the one who seemed to have it all. A successful lawyer, always impeccably dressed, driving a luxury car. Our gatherings followed a predictable rhythm, old college playlists, drinks, and Howard monopolizing the grill. But this time something was different. Howard was unusually tense. He pulled out his phone and showed us a picture of his son Alan. The kid looked furious. Howard explained that the school had called, Alan's grades were dropping, he was acting out, disrespecting teachers. Howard was livid. "I don't even recognize my own son anymore," he yelled, devastated. We all tried to console him, saying it was just a phase. Then Jeremy, in true Jeremy fashion, cracked a joke. "Maybe he's not yours, man." The room went dead silent. It was a tasteless joke, especially considering Howard's frustration. We all cringed. But then Kyle, in his usual calm tone, said something that changed everything. "Why don't you all just get a DNA test? Clear the air." He said it so casually, as if he were suggesting we order a pizza. At first we laughed it off. It seemed ridiculous. But the more we joked about it, the more the idea took root. The next day, 6 grown men found themselves walking into a paternity clinic. The receptionist gave me a look as I awkwardly explained why we were all there. To make things worse, Howard's brother Harold and his 2 sons had tagged along, making the entire scene even more uncomfortable. The boys kept asking questions. "Why are we here, Uncle George? What's a paternity test?" People were staring. It was humiliating. We each took our swabs, paid the fee, and agreed to meet at John's apartment the following week for the results. John's place was the complete opposite of my beach house. Ultra-modern, minimalist, spotless. Almost too perfect, like no one actually lived there. We gathered, trying to make small talk, but everyone was on edge. Howard opened his envelope first. His hands trembled as he scanned the results. Then relief washed over his face. 99.99%, he exhaled, a grin breaking through. "He's mine." He even chuckled, running a hand through his hair, muttering something about grounding Alan for a month. The rest of us checked our results. Nothing surprising. But then all eyes turned to John. He was drinking more than usual. Silent. Unmoving. Then he whispered it. "Jenna isn't mine." He shoved the paper across the table. His hand was shaking so badly he nearly knocked over his drink. His voice barely above a whisper, he kept repeating, 25%, 25%. As if saying it enough times would make it change. The room exploded. Howard, in shock, knocked over a glass, shattering it on the floor. Jeremy looked like he wanted to disappear. Kyle closed his eyes, shutting everything out. David clenched his fists, ready to punch something. And me? A sickening wave of relief that my own children were mine, followed by an unbearable grief for John. The fallout was chaos. John's wife, Alicia, went on the attack first. She stormed into his office, screaming, calling him a liar in front of his colleagues. Then she tried to manipulate my wife, Maria, painting herself as the victim. She showed up at our house, sobbing, spinning a web of excuses, how John must have misunderstood the test, how it was all a big mistake. But Maria saw right through her. And Alicia? She kept changing her story, contradicting herself, lying. And this was just the beginning. Maria later told me she had a horrible feeling about Alicia. Something wasn't right. Alicia's next desperate move was to call Kyle late at night. She was sobbing, practically begging him for help, claiming John was ruining her life. Kyle, being the kind-hearted soul he is, listened for a while, but made no promises. He told me about it the next day, and by then, we all saw Alicia for what she was. a manipulator weaving lies to save herself. The truth didn't come out all at once. It unraveled, slowly at first like a sweater unraveling thread by thread, until everything collapsed. At first, Alicia insisted her affair with John's brother, Stephen, was a one-time thing, a mistake, a moment of weakness. John didn't buy it. Not for a second. He dug deeper, and whether he hired a private investigator or did his own research we never knew. But what he found destroyed him. The affair had been going on for years. Not months. Not once. Years. And it had started before their wedding. When John finally confronted Alicia, she broke. She admitted everything. The secret hotel meetings while John worked late, thinking he was providing for his family. The stolen moments in John's own car. The fake excuses about working late when she was really with Stephen. And Jenna's birthday, that was the worst. They had celebrated together, Stephen and Alicia, like a real couple, days before John's own family gathering. They smiled for photos, acting as if they belonged together, while John remained in the dark. But the betrayal went beyond just an affair. Stephen had financial problems, major ones. Gambling. Bad investments. Expensive luxuries. And Alicia had been funneling him money for years. John's money. At first it was small amounts disguised as family loans. But soon it spiraled out of control. Thousands of dollars. Then tens of thousands. Alicia had even forged John's signature on loan documents. They created fake invoices, receipts, layers upon layers of deceit. John found emails between them. Discussions. Plans. They had been plotting to leave their spouses and run away together. It was all there in black and white. When everything started falling apart, Alicia panicked. She called me. She called Maria. She even called my parents. Desperately trying to twist the narrative, to paint herself as the victim. But no one believed her. And then came Jenna's birthday party. A grand event at a high-end restaurant. A room full of people pretending to be happy. Alicia smiling. Stephen smug. Touchy-feely with her in a way that made John's blood boil. John stood near the exit, fists clenching and unclenching, his face an unreadable mask. It was like he was waiting for Stephen to make one wrong move. Then, during the toast, Stephen had the audacity to stand up. He smiled, lifted his glass, and without shame, thanked John. "Thank you," he said, voice dripping with false sincerity, "for being such a wonderful brother and provider." John knew it was a lie. Then Stephen handed Jenna an expensive gift, far beyond what John could afford. Bought with John's own stolen money. And that's when everything exploded. Stephen was reveling in his lies, boasting to guests about his supposed financial success, making John look small in comparison. That was the breaking point. John stood up, his hands shaking with fury, and pulled the DNA test results from his pocket. He didn't just announce it, he made sure everyone in that room saw it. 25% probability. Silence. Then gasps. John wasn't done. With a calmness that was far more terrifying than rage, he laid out the entire deception. Alicia. Stephen. The affair. The money. The lies. The stolen future. He had receipts, emails, printed out messages, even photographs of Alicia and Stephen planning their escape. He made sure everyone knew about the stolen money, the lavish gifts, the fake business trips. He exposed them down to the last ugly detail. Alicia's mother gasped and fainted. Her father, humiliated and furious, lunged at John, but some guests pulled him back. Meanwhile, Stephen, coward that he was, tried to slip out the back door. But John's father, an ex-military man like David, saw him. And he knocked Stephen to the ground. The entire party was chaos. Some guests tried to intervene. Others just stood frozen, wide-eyed, watching a family implode before their eyes. Someone even recorded it on their phone and posted it online. Not any of us. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. The fallout was swift and brutal. John's father cut Stephen off completely. He went straight to Stephen's apartment, the one their father owned, dragged all of Stephen's belongings outside, and left a note for the entire family. "Stephen is no longer my son." John's father was disappointed in everything that had happened, but he told John he still loved him. Stephen's wife, Kelly, took it even further. She didn't just yell. She retaliated. She immediately filed for divorce, froze their joint accounts, and hired a lawyer. Then, in a move that stunned everyone, she went to John's house, where Alicia was still living, and confronted her. She screamed, accused, and when words weren't enough, she grabbed Alicia's hair and yanked, pulling out chunks. I don't condone violence. But I couldn't blame her. While Kelly channeled her rage into action, John did the opposite. He disappeared. Not physically, he went to one of his beach houses, but it became his prison. He ignored calls. He refused visitors. He barely ate. He told me later that he dreamed about that DNA test result over and over, a cruel loop of betrayal playing in his mind. He thought about selling everything. About leaving. About disappearing into some remote wilderness. About ending it all. But he couldn't do it. There were too many memories. Instead, he self-destructed. He drank constantly. He stopped shaving. He stopped changing clothes. He let himself waste away. Meanwhile, Alicia and Stephen were shameless. They moved into John's house, his house. They acted like nothing had happened. They went on shopping sprees, buying expensive clothes, accessories, indulging in their stolen wealth. They were seen laughing in public, dining at the finest restaurants. Every night, they ordered takeout, the most expensive food they could find, while John struggled to pay off the financial ruin they had left behind. They threw parties, loud, wild, obnoxious gatherings that annoyed the neighbors. Alicia even started remodeling Jenna's room, as if they were planning to stay. Stephen parked his car in John's driveway. Like he owned it. And John? John was falling apart. He started having panic attacks. Just the sight of them, Alicia and Stephen together, would set him off. He stopped eating properly. He stopped taking care of himself. Then one night he accidentally knocked over a framed photo of Jenna. The glass shattered, cutting deep into his palm. Blood dripped onto the floor. But John just stood there, staring at the mess. At the blood. At the broken memories. That's when we, his friends, knew we had to do something. We called a meeting at my house. Howard, ever the meticulous one, gathered all the bank statements. With John's help, he pulled together the forged documents, the fake loans, the evidence of financial fraud. John didn't just show us the documents. He threw them onto the table. Scattered them. Let them speak for themselves. Jeremy clenched his fists, eyes burning with rage. "I want to beat the living hell out of Stephen," he muttered. And honestly, we all did. But we had a better plan. David, with his military background, even joked about making them disappear. At least, I think he was joking. Kyle, usually the calm and composed one, was visibly furious. We spent hours arguing about what to do, what was legal, what was moral, and what was necessary. Howard did his research, landlord-tenant laws, eviction procedures, the whole 9 yards. He came up with a plan. Jeremy would be the muscle. David had a backup plan in case things went sideways. We even had a code word, pineapple, to signal when the job was done. I sat there, wide-eyed, Pikachu-faced, listening to the chaos unfold. The plan. First, we had to get John out of the way. We needed to ensure he wouldn't accidentally show up in the middle of what we were about to do. A casual invite for a cookout? Too obvious. Instead, Kyle faked a legal crisis, some property dispute that required John's professional advice. Given John's expertise, it was a believable excuse. We kept him busy, fed him, got some drinks in him, kept him distracted. Meanwhile, the rest of us? We went to John's house. The confrontation. The second we stepped inside, Alicia started the waterworks. "You have no right to be here," she sobbed, trying to play the victim. Stephen? He tried to act tough, but the fear in his eyes gave him away. We took pictures and videos of everything, the expensive things they bought with John's money, the chaos they left behind. Then we found more evidence. Secret trips. Hidden financial documents. Plans to buy a house together, with money stolen from John. We didn't just pack their stuff, we hurled it out the windows. Clothes. Bags. Jewelry. Electronics. Alicia screamed in protest. Stephen just stood there, jaw clenched, silent. Jeremy, red-faced with fury, let loose on Stephen. "You worthless piece of trash. If you ever go near John or Jenna again, I swear." I found a hidden stash of valuables Alicia had been keeping. Money, jewelry, designer goods. I grabbed the pile, threw it at her feet, and said, "Here's your blood money." Alicia lost it. She screamed, threatened to call the police, shook with rage. Jeremy calmly reminded her. The house was in John's name. The prenup meant she had no legal claim to anything. She was trespassing. Howard got right in Stephen's face, pushing him back against the garage door. "You're a lowlife," he spat. Stephen said nothing. We had done what we came to do. I texted Kyle one word, pineapple. It was time to bring John home. The return. Kyle said John was a mess of emotions in the car. Rage, relief, guilt, anxiety. He drove erratically, speeding, slowing down, speeding up again. He kept murmuring to himself, reliving the last 8 years, trying to make sense of it all. His biggest fear? What this would do to Jenna. When they pulled up to the house, the scene was something out of a nightmare. Alicia and Steven's belongings were scattered all over the front lawn. Furniture, golf clubs, clothing, bags. The neighbors were watching. It looked like a yard sale from hell. Alicia was livid, screaming, blaming John, calling him a monster, claiming he ruined her life. Steven stood behind her, silent, staring at the ground, humiliated. John walked past them like they didn't exist. He stepped into his home. The silence was deafening. The furniture was still there, but everything else was gone. All the small touches, the warmth, the love, the memories, vanished. He walked through the rooms, slowly taking it all in. The emptiness was the worst part. John told me later, that was when it truly hit him. They were gone. The fallout. While chaos unfolded at John's house that day, Jenna was safe at her best friend's house for a playdate. Her friend's mother, one of the few people who saw through Alicia's act, had been warned about what was going to happen. She had planned the playdate on purpose to keep Jenna away from the mess. But when Jenna returned home, she was confused. She looked at John and asked, "Is Uncle Steven my real father?" John felt sick. Then she asked, "Don't you love me anymore?" And that was it. John broke down. Through tears, he told her nothing could ever change his love for her. But before he could explain further, Alicia showed up. She seized Jenna by force. We tried to stop her, but legally we couldn't. John's breaking point. That first night, John was alone. The next morning, he told us he had spent the night sitting on Jenna's bed, staring at her toys and drawings. It was one of the hardest things he had ever done. The weeks that followed were a blur. John was drowning in grief. Some days were better than others, but he wasn't doing well. Therapy helped. He threw himself into work. He picked up his guitar again, something he hadn't done in years. He even tried surfing a few times, chasing the feeling of his old life. And through it all, we were there. We made sure he ate. We dragged him out of the house when he needed it. We checked on him constantly. But one fear haunted him. What does Jenna think of me now? He couldn't shake the feeling that she blamed him, that she believed he abandoned her, that she would never forgive him. He had missed her school dance performance, something she had practiced for months. The guilt was crushing. He wanted nothing more than to hold his little girl and tell her everything was okay. But he wasn't sure if it was. He wasn't sure if he was okay. The women step up. John wasn't fighting this battle alone. And it wasn't just us guys who had his back. Our wives stepped up too. They confronted Alicia directly. They made it clear they saw her for what she was. And they weren't going to let her get away with it. But more than that, they took care of John. They put together a care package. His favorite snacks, books, and handwritten letters from each of them. They cooked for him so he wouldn't just survive on takeout. They included him in family gatherings, movie nights, anything to keep his spirits up. They treated him like family. Because that's exactly what he was. John hadn't expected that level of support. And it changed everything. The legal battle begins. Meanwhile, we were preparing. We had been pooling our money. Because John was going to need an elite lawyer. Not just any lawyer, the best. We did our research and found someone who specialized in high-conflict divorces and custody battles. This lawyer won cases. And more importantly, he won custody. When we presented John with the retainer fee, he hesitated. He was terrified. Terrified of making things worse for Jenna. Terrified of losing her forever. "What if I fight this and lose?" he whispered. "What if she hates me even more?" We refused to let him give up. We told him, being a father isn't just about DNA. It's about showing up. It's about choosing your child, every single day, no matter what. The final chapter, rebuilding from the ashes. John deserved to be in Jenna's life. Jenna deserved to be with her real father. And no matter how much Alicia and Steven tried to twist things, we wouldn't let them win. The fight for Jenna. It took time, but John finally agreed to fight. The divorce should have been over in months. Instead, it dragged on for a year and a half, 18 months of Alicia fighting everything. She contested every decision. The division of assets, custody agreements, even the ownership of John's house, despite it being his long before their marriage. She missed meetings. She intentionally delayed paperwork. She tried to make John look like an unfit father, saying he worked too much, bringing up his recent drinking. Conveniently forgetting that his drinking only started after she destroyed his life. But then the fraud came to light. John's lawyer exposed everything. Alicia had forged John's signature on over $200,000 worth of loans. She had been secretly moving money to Steven for years, covering it up with fake invoices. The judge didn't just see this as a divorce issue, this was fraud. The district attorney got involved. The consequences. Alicia panicked. She tried to pin everything on Stephen, claiming he pressured her into it. But it was too late. She took a plea deal, 3 years of probation, mandatory financial counseling, and every single stolen dollar had to be repaid. The judge also severely restricted her time with Jenna. No overnight visits. No out-of-state trips. Supervised visits only. Stephen, however, got worse. Once the court saw the evidence of his involvement, they threw the book at him. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison for financial fraud. And without John's money, their relationship fell apart. Alicia and Stephen had a full-blown screaming match in the courtroom, blaming each other for ruining their lives. John? He just sat there watching it unfold, exhausted but finally free. A father's love. The divorce was finalized after 16 months. That night, we took John out to celebrate. He barely spoke. He just sat there relieved. It was over. He could finally begin again. But the hardest part? Jenna. She was struggling. She had to process that Stephen was her biological father. But John? John was still her dad. One night, Jenna asked him, "Can I still call you Dad?" John cried for an hour. She wanted nothing to do with Stephen. She saw how he had hurt her father. Even when Stephen tried to win her over with expensive gifts, she refused them. She even told the court-appointed supervisor that she didn't want to see him at all. Smart kid. A new beginning. Life slowly returned to normal. John started smiling again. We had one final picnic at my beach house, a sort of celebration. John looked at us and said, "You guys are my family." And we knew he meant it. We weren't just friends. We were brothers, bonded by this insane, heartbreaking, but ultimately inspiring journey. If there's one thing to take from this story, it's this. Good friends will stand by you no matter how badly your life falls apart. Even when you feel completely broken, the people who truly love you will be there to help you pick up the pieces. Does this story resonate with you? Have you ever had friends who stood by you through your hardest moments? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe in the power of loyalty, love, and true friendship, like, share, and subscribe. Because stories like this deserve to be told.